new school curriculum portends sweeping changes in the country's academic landscape as we know it. From performance examinations to competence assessments, the CBC Task Force report contains proposals which promises a complete shift in the relationship between learners, teachers and the parents. But what impact will the absence of the KCPE and KCSE national examinations have on our education system? KTN News' Shadrach Miti interrogates.
The release of the CBC Task Force report on the implementation of the competency-based curriculum has set in motion a comprehensive reform agenda, which will eventually see the 2-6-3-3-3 learning structure replace the current 8-4-4 learning system, which has been in place for nearly 4 decades. In the new 2-6-3-3-3 system, learners will spend 2 years in pre-primary, 6 years in primary, 3 years in junior secondary, and another 3 years in senior secondary, with the last 3 years in the university. The CBC Task Force report has elaborately broken down the transition question. Learners in pre-primary will sit for internally generated assessment, which will allow them to transition to grade 1. However, at grade 3, learners will be subjected to another school-based national assessment, like the one which was administered recently, to gauge their learning.
The primary school continuous assessment will be cumulatively compiled into annual achievement and performance reports for each learner, as has happened already in grade 3.
The primary education has been divided into lower primary, which includes grades 1, 2, and 3, and upper primary, comprising of grades 4, 5, and 6. In what symbolizes a huge departure from the current examination-based transitions, the CBC report proposes a totally different form of assessment for grade 4 through grade 6 learners. Learners in all these grades will be assessed internally and weighted at 20% each year for 3 years. At grade 6, however, learners will undertake a national assessment by the Kenya National Examination Council to be weighted at 40%, which will be added to the 60% scored in the previous 3 years. This will then allow learners to transition to grade 7, which is the beginning of junior secondary, made up of grade 7, 8, and 9. At grade 9, which is the last grade in junior secondary, learners will undergo formative assessment and another summative assessment ahead of transitioning to senior secondary school, which begins at grade 10 to 12. This means placement of learners to junior secondary and senior secondary schools will no longer depend on KCPE and KCSE examinations, respectively.
We are now moving from the part of ranking our children. We want them to develop in their own way. However, we need not to remove the element of competition, because if we don't put any element of competition, the learners will not actually even bring out their potentials.
Learners who in 2022 will be in primary school grade 6 under the 2-6-3-3-3 competency-based curriculum, and those in standard 8 under the 8-4-4 system will concurrently transition to junior secondary grade 7 and secondary form 1 respectively, meaning next year we'll see double transitions. Shadrach Miti, KTN News.